John Lindert has been a PGA member for more than 35 years, was inducted into the Michigan PGA Hall of Fame in 2019, and is currently the director of golf at the Country Club of Lansing. He has qualified for the PGA Championship on 5 occasions, and now is the president of the PGA of America. John, welcome to Back Nine Report.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Well, it's a little cold here in Cadillac, as I'm sure it is in Lansing, but we're going to muddle through.
That's right.
John, I like to ask this to everybody. How did you first get started playing golf? What brought you to the game?
Well, it's interesting. I'm actually one of 4 siblings. I am actually the only one that plays golf. My parents were tennis players with my other siblings growing up, and they got to at that age of 50 where they felt that tennis was no longer in their future. They decided to take up the game of golf. I was the youngest by 10 years. And so rather than have my siblings babysit me, they dragged little Johnny to the golf course. And that's how I got started. I went to the golf course and I started to learn the game with my parents at the age of 4.
Fantastic. You have received various awards and have been the secretary and vice president of the PGA. Before you're president, how did you get started moving through the chairs of the PGA?
So I got involved in governance really early on. I was an assistant in North Florida and saw that we were having some struggles as assistants going through our education program. So I reached out to the PGA of America and developed an assistants association for the North Florida section to kind of educate assistants a little bit better internally with guidance from or mentoring from our PGA professionals. I then went to Northern Ohio and kind of duplicated that. And I've been in Michigan now since 1993. And when I came to Michigan, a gentleman tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I wanted to be part of the Western Chapter Board, which I took on and went through the chairs of the Western Chapter, became a at-large member of the Michigan PGA Board, and then ran for office in the Michigan PGA. While I did that, I had written a couple letters about a couple things to the current officer corps of the PGA of America. And one of them was I had an interest in being involved in the board of control for the PGA of America, which is kind of our judiciary committee. It does oversight into appeals by PGA members for our professional development points, things like that nature. And Jim Remy in 2009 appointed me on the board of control, which is a 4-year term. There are only 4 individuals on that. Which was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It gave me the opportunity to learn more about the PGA members, what struggles they have, where we can help, and really give back to the PGA member. At that point, I ended that in 2013, and we have 41 sections in the PGA of America and 14 districts. Those 14 districts have a rotation of who serves on the board. And the rotation for Michigan, which is in District 5, which is Michigan, Northern Ohio, and Southern Ohio, was coming about. So I decided to run for district director, which then put me on the PGA of America board. And I, once again, going through that process, somebody came to me 2 years in and said, do you have any desire to run for national office? And I pondered it, gave it some thought, and thought, you know what, when that day and that time comes and I'm lying on my bed and there's nothing left to do, will I ever regret not doing anything? And it was going to put me in an extremely uncomfortable position. I felt that I wasn't ready for it, but I felt that the timing was right to go ahead and challenge myself to be uncomfortable. And so I ran in 2018 and was fortunate enough to be elected.
Yeah, that's good stuff. The PGA, of course, has been very strong for a long time, and now with Seth Waugh involved there and what you guys have been doing, it appears you're on the right track. So you've been in a position to hear complaints and all the concerns of the local PGA pros. What can the PGA do at the national level, or what are you working on to improve the life of the local PGA member?
Well, we're really trying to give them more access to resources. And what I mean by that is we've developed what we call a regional model, where we've separated the 41 sections into 7 regions. And we're giving them access to tools like HR guidance, legal guidance, giving resources to career consultants that can help the PGA member further their career. And we do that in these 7 regions that help each PGA member work better at their each facility. So for instance, for me, if I wanted to go in and negotiate my contract, I could go reach out to one of my career consultants and I could have him come up and help me negotiate my contract. We're also developing for the very first time a deferred compensation program, which, if lack of a better term, almost a pension plan. And that has never been able to be done before. We kind of followed the PGA Tours model. And beginning in April of 2023, we're going to start our first deferred comp, which is going to be fantastic. The other side is one of the struggles that we face is recruitment and retention of PGA members. So educating our PGA members is great. Educating them on work-life balance is fantastic. But we also have to recruit talent into the pool. And I think having deferred comp is one benefit that may help us. But having these career consultants placed in these regions to help us go to certain venues to recruit, whether it's college fairs or job fairs, is extremely critical and important. And those are kind of the things that we're doing now to kind of help the current PGA member and to help bolster us as an association.
Employment, hiring the right employees is a major concern for every employer in the country right now. And there are so many opportunities for guys to move into higher paying jobs. The entry level as a PGA Pro is not that great, as we both know. So the PGM programs have been working very well, bringing new people into the system. Do you see that continuing strong? Are the PGM programs still feeding a lot of people, a lot of new talent into the lower echelons of the PGA of America?
I do. We actually had an uptick this past year in PGM university enrollment for the very first time in about 10 years. So that's a great sign. I think the other thing that speaks well is it's a great industry to be in, but we're going to have a large number of PGA professionals begin to retire. Over 50% of our current PGA members became members prior to 1995. So that's a huge statement. That means there's plenty of upward mobility opportunity for the youth that are entering into the business. I go back and I speak to the young men and women and talk to them a little bit about my experience. When I came in, every golf course had 4 assistants. And when a head professional job came open, there were 130, 140, 200 resumes being received. And it was a dog eat dog world. Right now, we're in a different world where when you have a job open up, there's probably 50 resumes, 20 resumes, depending on the pay scale of that job. So the opportunities are going to be endless for this next group of PGA professionals, which is great.
Golf has seen a renaissance of sorts since the pandemic. More people have come back to the game. Golf equipment companies, courses, and golf industry in general has seen the best profits and numbers of people playing the game than ever before. Do you see this trend continuing? And what is the PGA doing to keep golf strong across the country?
We talk about that often in board meetings, and it's an interesting question. I think obviously the pandemic gave us a great boost as far as popularity and people entering into the game. It was a great way for people to socialize in a safe and respectful manner. What I've seen and what I tend to see is there's a little bit of a dip this year. We dropped about 2% this year, mostly due to weather, because we're obviously, once again, we're a weather-driven sport. But what I see development like PGA Junior League, where we now have 71,000 boys and girls that are in PGA Junior League. And that is bringing mom and dad to the golf course, whether they're golfers or not. The kids are dragging mom and dad to the golf course. And we're developing golfers from it. We're not seeing those 13 and unders just stop playing golf. They continue to play golf. And so what I see a future of new golfers coming on board through programs like PGA Junior League, through programs like Drive, Chip, and Putt, through programs like Family Cup. Those things are bringing families together, but they're also developing the golfers of the future. And I think that's critically important. So I think that while we may see a slight dip, I see the future as being very, very bright for the game.
John, last year, the LIV Tour was the biggest story in golf. The PGA America owns the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup. With the PGA Tour suspending players who have jumped to the rival LIV, and some of those are big name players, what implications does that hold for the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup? And what are you guys looking at as far as that right now?
Well, the Ryder Cup committee, I'll start first with that. The Ryder Cup committee had set the standards of how you gain access to the Ryder Cup team. It's a point structured system. And that was established before LIV really came out. It's a 2-year curve. You get points for winning certain events in year one, and more points for year two. That those qualifications aren't going to change. And with the PGA Championship, we have our set of guidelines and standards that we have used. The board has yet to really discuss it. You saw that the Open Championship came out with their policy. The Masters has come out with their policy. And we'll discuss ours. At the end of the day, what we really want to do is we want to run the best championship possible. And critically important with that is we want to have the best venue for our championships. And we also want to be able to highlight our 20 PGA professionals that qualify for that major championship. As the president of the PGA of America and nearly 28,000 that I represent, those 20 PGA professionals that are in that field, those are my shining stars. Those are my focal points.
Yeah, that's it's always a highlight for the local pros to be able to qualify and get to do that. It's really good stuff. After hosting, let's talk a little bit about the PGA show, which you guys have been doing for a long, long time. After hosting the 21 show virtually and returning with a much smaller version of the show last year, it appears that the majority of vendors will return to the 2023 PGA show coming up here just in a couple of weeks in Orlando. So it appears that the PGA show maybe get back to where it was. Do you foresee the PGA show being that strong in the future? Will it continue to grow? Or will the recent trend to online marketing reduce the number of vendors that are willing to spend the dollars necessary to send their staff to the show?
That's a great question. I thought last year was a great show. I'm old enough where I've gone to the show for numerous years, and I thought last year's show was a show of buyers, not a show of tire kickers. And that's critically important for both sides. The vendors want to see value. And so, when their time is occupied with tire kickers, they're not selling. When their time's occupied with buyers, they're selling. So I thought last year was really good. I think this year is obviously going to be better. And once again, bigger is not always better. Better is better. If we can have more buyers with the true interest of buying in that venue, then we're better off. The vendors are better off. And I do think it's going to continue. I get the virtual aspect, but to me, nothing replaces walking in and grabbing a golf club and waggling it and feeling what it feels like, looking what it looks like. I don't think you can do that virtually. There's nothing from a soft goods perspective. There's nothing better than actually holding the garment, feeling the garment, getting that touch and that feel of what the garment feels like, as opposed to virtually, you don't have that sense. And so from my perspective, I think the show continues.
So the PGA facility in Frisco, Texas, is becoming operational. I was down there 2-3 years ago or something like that. It was right. It was 2020 actually. I was there and I pulled into there and there was a dead end street. Okay, and there was just a big empty lot. I mean, a really big empty lot. And so I see the pictures today, and it's a little community there. You've got buildings up, you've got golf courses that are ready to go. What's the current status of that? I know you've got some tournaments scheduled for there. Can you give us an update on that facility and what we can expect to see there in the future?
Sure. So our PGA of America, the home of the PGA of America, our PGA headquarters is up and running and functioning. We have 135 staff that are on property. Right next door, the North Texas PGA has their office space. It's getting ready to open. It's almost fully completed. The 2 golf courses have grown in. They're fully grown in. We've had some limited play on them, but they're not open for play. They will open for play May 2nd. The 10-hole swing, the golf course, the par 3, it's lit with music. That is fully grassed in and ready to go. The dance floor, which is our 2-acre putting green, is fully grassed in and ready to go. And then the stadium district, the district where we'll have retail shops, the ice house, those buildings are complete. Omni Hotel, 500-room hotel, is nearing final stages of completion, along with I believe they have between 8 and 10 4-person cottages. So those are all up and running. We plan on doing a grand opening April 24th, with the first major being there is the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship will be held there this May. So our first major will be held there this May. We have 26 events scheduled, which will include PGA Championships, which will include PGA Junior League. So PGA Junior League Championship is moving from Greyhawk in Scottsdale after they've hosted it for 6 years to PGA Frisco this year. So it'll be the first year that Frisco hosts that. So we're looking forward to it. I've had the opportunity to play the East Course. The East Course was designed by Gil Hans, the West Course by Bo Welling. And it's going to be a great test of golf. It might be a little easy if the wind doesn't blow, but it is Texas after all. And I don't think there's a day with the wind doesn't blow in Texas. And I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for our relationship with both the Omni and the city of Frisco. And to put it all in perspective, when we built this facility, the city of Frisco built a high school across the street. And what they've decided to do is when we host a major championship there, those students in that high school will go to school 5 minutes longer every day so that they can take the week of the championship off and we can use that as a bus terminal. That's collaboration. That's going to be an exciting experience for a lot of people. And I'm looking forward to all the championships we have there.
You made a lot of kids happy giving them a week off of school.
Yeah, for 5 minutes a day.
Might be some future golfers in there.
That's right.
So what are any future plans to move the PGA show from Orlando to Frisco?
There really aren't any. I mean, when you think about what Orlando holds, if you've been to Dallas in January, it can snow.
Yeah.
It's been plenty cold in Orlando, but the Orange County Convention Center is such a marvelous facility. And really, there aren't many facilities like it across the country that can hold as many people as a large a venue as we need with the hotel
40,000 people into that thing through the 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. And plus you get the hotel capacity that's built around it. That area is really built to host conventions such as ours. So at this point, there really aren't any conversations as far as going to Frisco at all.
One last question, John, before we let you go. What do you see as the biggest problem facing the PGA or golf in general right now? What kind of keeps you awake at night? What is the administration of the PGA working on, looking out 10 or 15 years? What's the major problem that you think you have to address right now?
Well, I think, there's always the commentary about, is it too expensive? Is it too timely? Does it take too much time? and we're trying to address that. We're trying to, change mindsets that 9 holes is a round of golf, 4 holes is a round of golf. You're seeing, 10 years ago, we didn't have Top Golf. And look what that's done. It's brought a whole new group of individuals into the game. So, obviously having individuals that want to play the sport, having it be affordable, having it be a family game is critically important. For the PGA professional, my concern is them having the well-being to have a good work-life balance, for them to be able to have a career and a family and enjoy them both. The day and age of working open to close has to go away. We have to educate our employers and we have to educate ourselves to some degree that in order to get good quality people, we have to provide a good quality work-life balance for our future PGA professionals. So those are some of the things that really concern me. And it's more about education than anything, is educating how we can work smarter, not harder.
Been talking with John Lindert, the president of the PGA of America. John, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, John.